Welcome, everybody. Super excited to be here. Sage Summit, my second time here. How many of you guys, I see Roger at the back, fellow Torontonian. Welcome, Roger. How many of you guys are your first time here, Sage Summit? A bunch of you. Nice. All right. It's my second time. I want to do a fun, can we do something fun? I know it's not that big a group yet, but I want to do something fun. I need a volunteer who is crazy, fun, and wild. We got two at the front. Okay. Okay, I want you guys to stand up. We got Rosalina and I didn't catch your name. Danielle. Okay, you can stay there. What I want to do, this is talking about money, right? We're talking about raising capital today. So I want to do the fun scene from Jerry Maguire. You guys seen that? The show me the money. Show me the money, right? No? Well. There you go. Wow, we got excitement on the floor. So here's what we're going to do, okay? Everybody's sitting down. We're all going to say, show me the, and then Danielle and Rosalina are going to freak out and go, money! Okay? Ready? We're going to 1, 2, 3. Everyone say, show me the, okay? 1, 2, 3. Show me the. Money! That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Let's do it one more time. I think we can do it a little better. Like, give it everything. Everything. This is it. 1, 2, 3, show me the money! Yeah, I like it. Round of applause, Rosalina and Danielle. That was fun, guys. Cool. So we're talking about raising capital, and we're going to talk about everything from angel investment up to venture capital. For those of you who know my YouTube channel and seen me before, I have generally a much more motivational, inspiring kind of trait to me. Today, this is tactical. This is execution. This is how to actually get stuff done. So I'm excited. How many of you guys, so I can tailor this presentation to you, how many of you are trying to raise $25,000 or less for your business? $25,000 or less. Okay. 25 to 250? And 250 plus? Okay, so we got a mix. And the rest of you don't know what you're doing? Maybe you don't know why you're here? Trying to figure it out? Roger? You just want to buy lunch? Lunch is free, Roger. Lunch is free. So a little bit about me. My name is Carmichael. You may have seen me from my YouTube channel and the content that I put up. My story, when I was 19, I had a biotech software company. Totally sucked at the start. I was making $300 a month, not able to survive. You know, I guess classic entrepreneur story. In 3 years, turned it around. We got acquired. From there, I joined. I never had to raise capital for that business. Thought I might. Didn't know if I needed help or not. From there, I joined a venture capital company. Was helping raise $500,000 to $5 million for companies who wanted to build and grow. And then started my own business again, helping entrepreneurs with my website, YouTube channel. I've got 16 people working for me. I'm an angel investor in different businesses. And so hopefully I can help you guys, whatever stage you're at in trying to raise capital. And we have a mix of people in the room, so I'll do my best to cover it. And then if you guys have questions at the end, you can hit it up if we have time in the session or afterwards on the side. The first message I have for you may not be a welcome one, but talking about bootstrap, most entrepreneurs shouldn't actually be out raising capital. Most of you should build a business by bootstrapping. I don't know about your businesses and what you're all about yet. A lot of people think raising capital is the way to go. It's how I need to go and expand. I'm going to go pitch Damon John and Robert Herjavec, who are here today. But really, the best thing you can do as an entrepreneur is build a real business. Like, get customers. Put that money back into your company to help fuel your growth. Two main reasons. One, when you're raising capital, it becomes almost like a full-time job for you. You spend so much time out there raising capital that you're not actually executing on your business. That could be time spent going out, getting clients, building momentum, getting media, getting some traction for your company, right? All super important things, and you get stuck because you're just trying to raise capital. And the second part is at the early stages of a company, you're going to lose way too much of your equity or take on way too high of an interest rate. It's the riskiest time at the beginning stage of a company. So raising capital and equity investors are going to come in and take a huge chunk of your business, which sucks, right? So at the start, most of you guys should not be raising capital. And this is a presentation on raising capital. So I wanted to give that disclaimer right off the bat. But for those of you who now are still intent on raising capital, I'm going to give you kind of the options and the tactics on how to do it. The first thing that you need to understand is, what are you trying to finance? When you go and you talk to an investor or a lender And there's two sides, and most of you guys may already know this, but you're either giving up equity in your business where they own a piece of your company, or you're taking on debt where they don't owe you anything, but you have to pay them back monthly payments. So these are the 5 things that an investor will finance. And you have to understand what you need the money for and which bucket it falls into. This is the scale of easiest to raise versus hardest. So R&D, early stage, like I have an idea, but I don't know how it's going to work yet. I need someone to fund my research and development. That's the hardest money to raise because it's the riskiest. The closer you get to actually making money from a customer, dollars in your pocket, that makes it a lot easier to get an investor on board. So R&D is the hardest. Next is protection. So you need patents. You need copyrights. You need trademarks. You've invented something, but you need to protect it. That, again, is difficult to raise for, a little bit easier than R&D, but still difficult because you're far from getting a sale. Next is production. Production is, okay, we have our tech. We know what we're doing. Now we need to go out and make it. And the easiest way to get production finance is to go get a customer. So I was talking to a woman on the bus today, and her son had an energy company, and he was trying to finance the production of his units. And the best thing that he can do is go and get purchase orders, go and get clients interested in what he's doing so he can finance that production. If you can't get a purchase order, then at least get a letter of intent. But if you don't have any customers, even close, it's super hard to get funding. Like imagine if you were somebody's pitching you on a business idea, saying it's going to be great. This is the next big thing. It's going to be amazing. Well, do you have any customers yet? Well, no. Like that's immediately going to drop your interest. So the closer, again, you can get to getting money in, the easier it is to raise funding. Next is marketing. Now we're starting to get a little bit easier. We have our product. Now we're out there marketing it, trying to sell it, getting our first clients. And the last one is expansion. This is the easiest money to raise. And if you're looking at raising capital, this is honestly, I'd love for you guys to bootstrap through marketing and then get to expansion. Expansion is you've proved that it works somewhere. You've proved that it works in your local market. And as a mentor of mine used to always tell me, if you can get 1 customer, you can get 1,000. And that's the mentality, because a lot of investors, if you go in without a single customer, you're like almost every deal that's being pitched to them. But if you just have 1 customer, you're already different than 95% of the pitches that they're seeing. If you can get 1 customer and prove that somebody's willing to pay you for what you do, it's easy to see how you can get 100 or 1,000 or 100,000 clients, depending on what market you're in. That's where the risk is reduced and where you get a much better valuation for your business. So whenever you're talking to an investor, you have to understand what's it for, where's that money being spent, and how much. If you do not know the answers to these questions, you're going to get rejected instantly, the insta-rejection. It makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. Just like if anybody pitched you an idea and they didn't know how much they needed and they weren't sure exactly where they're going to spend it, there's no way you're going to give them that money. So you have to have these down, no matter what we're talking about, friends and family, angel investors, banks, venture capitalists, government. This is the foundation. So let's get into some of the specifics. Love money is a start. Love money is you're trying to raise $25,000 or less. It's called love money because it's usually your friends, your family, kindergarten classmates, anybody who might know you, love you, want to see you get ahead, want to see you get to that next step. And this is where the early stage money is. It's super hard to get, if you're looking at $25,000 or less, an angel investor isn't interested in it. It's just too much work to do the due diligence. The due diligence is to investigate your company and meet with you and go through all this when they're not getting a big return on their time. If you guys watch Shark Tank, they don't want to do a deal where they get 1% of the company. It's just not worth all the time to put in. So if you're looking for small amounts, you're typically looking with friends and family, and it's called love money. So first slide, friends and family there. The next thing is about the ROI. Typically, these people are not very sophisticated in terms of investors. So yes, they want a return on their money, but this might be the first deal that they're ever doing. And they want to see that you're going to listen to them. So if you're talking to your mom or Aunt Jill or Uncle Bob, are you going to be able to listen to their feedback? And maybe they don't have great feedback for you. Something to think about. You want to bring on somebody who's not just giving you money. It's called dumb money. People who just give you money where they don't actually contribute to your business. You want to make sure anybody who comes on can add value to your company. $1 to $25,000. You play the guilt card, put this super cute dog sad-looking puppy, right? Like, remember that time when I moved your house and that piano was so heavy and it was uphill both ways? You know, you play the guilt card because they love you. It's much more a love decision than a business, although the business part has to be there with a plan. And the last thing to think about that most people don't think about is, do you want them to be on your management team or not? Like, if Uncle Bob comes into your company and gives you a $10,000 check, do you want Uncle Bob to be a part of your business? Do you want him on your advisory team? And can you work with Uncle Bob? And is Christmas dinner going to be really awkward now that Uncle Bob is there and you have to talk business, right? So family can be great, friends can be great, but they don't necessarily mean that these are people that you want to be in business with. And most people don't consider that. They just go after the dollars. So something to be super careful about. Next up is government. And the government has tons of different programs at different levels, federal and state. And there's a few key things that they look at. Government typically will not invest in a business. So they typically won't take an ownership stake in the business. It'll be in the form of a grant or a loan. The difference there is you don't pay a grant back. A loan you have to pay back. Lots of different programs. The first thing they look for is the organizational fit. And these things are just for government. Other investors won't care. So example, they might have a program for women entrepreneurs. They might have a program for young entrepreneurs. They might have a program for veteran entrepreneurs, a program for immigrant entrepreneurs, right? Tons of different programs depending on how you might fit into that bucket. And if you approach the wrong organization, you know, I couldn't get a loan for women entrepreneur, right? So you have to make sure you're applying to the right spot. Next is the proceeds fit. So that last slide we're talking about, the 5 ways that you could spend money, whether it's marketing all the way down to research and development. Different government funds will target different proceeds. So there'll be government funds that only deal in R&D. Don't go asking them for marketing dollars. You're going to be spending a lot of time going down the wrong direction. They love to see matching funds. So they love to see that they're not the only ones giving you money, but you have money from somewhere else. And a strategy we used to use when I was in the VC game was we would partner up with the government, different government funds, and get a commitment for half the money. The government doesn't want to play the lead. They'd love to have somebody else play the lead. So we're looking for $1 million. Half of it comes from the government source. Then you use that letter of commitment to go out and get the other half. Because now if you're approaching an equity investor, you can say, hey, look, the government's already in for half if we can close somebody else. So it gives you momentum. But they love seeing you have matching funds from somebody else. Of course, they want to see... This is way more exciting than Stephen Kelly in the press area. Way more exciting. Solid plan. Everybody will care about having a solid plan. Benefit to the country. This is something that only the government will care about. Or if it's a state program, it's only the state will care about. Like, no angel or venture capital investor is going to say, I really care what this is going to do for America. Right? This is something that the government, though, obviously cares a lot about. So are you going to raise money and then produce in China, right? No, they want to see you're creating American jobs. Something the government cares a lot about. An angel investor is like, get me the best deal, wherever that is. So you want to hype that up. How are you going to create jobs for your local area? The thing that sucks about dealing with the government, anybody in the government here? Nobody from the government? Or you're not admitting that you're from the government? The thing that sucks is the long wait. It's so long to get any kind of money from the government. If you're overdue on your tax bill, you can guarantee the IRS is going to come breathing down your neck instantly. But getting money from them is insanely long and frustrating because as entrepreneurs, we want it to happen now, right? We want things instantly. We wanted it yesterday. We're already behind our plans for changing the world and creating something amazing. What do you mean it's going to take 8 months before I get my money, right? So that can be super frustrating and time-consuming, and a lot of times it's not worth it. Banks are next. A lot of entrepreneurs, when they first get started, think banks are the friends of entrepreneurs. This was me. When I first started my business, I was 19. I thought, okay, I got to go talk to a bank, right? It's what we do, get support from the banks. They're here for us as entrepreneurs. Do we have bankers in the room? Maybe not admitting it. So I went into the banker and I said, hey, I started my business. I want some help to help me grow. He's like, well, do you need a loan? I'm like, well, I I don't know. I need some help. Like, well, that's not what we do here. Bankers are typically not in the business of lending to risky startups. If you are less than 3 years in business, they will take your personal credit, right? So unless you have 3 years of traction with your company, they don't want to lend you money unless you're going to personally guarantee it. So like you'll lose your house or your car or whatever assets you have if you don't pay it back. So they're not the best place to go to for a startup entrepreneur trying to get funding. But if you are going to go and talk to the banks, it's important to know what they look at, what they care about to give yourself the best shot at being successful and getting that yes. This is a list of the most common reasons why bankers say no.
Attendees of Sage 2016, we invite
Water
you
break.
to come over to the press area where Stephen Kelly, CEO of Sage, along with Dr. Liam Fox, Secretary of State for International Trade from the British government, will be speaking. That's over in the press area. Stephen Kelly, CEO of Sage, and Dr. Liam Fox, Secretary of State for International Trade from the British government, will be speaking in the press area.
He's eating our time. He's eating our time. Okay, so these are the most common reasons why banks say no. Too much debt. So you already have a lot of debt. Lack of owner equity just means you don't own enough of your business. Maybe you have other investors and you only own 20% of the company. You can get rejected for that. Insufficient cash flow. You're not making enough money yet in your business. Too new. You're just a startup. Poor industry conditions. They don't like your company and the market that you're in. They don't like your products. You don't have a good business plan that goes down. What's interesting here, though, is 11.6% of people weren't given a reason. So if you ever get rejected by a bank, by an investor, anybody, you want to at least find out the reason. Not just for financing. Customers, right? A customer says, no, I don't like your thing. Well, why, right? I mean, it's great. I accept that you don't like it, you don't want to buy it, but why? Like, help me improve, help me get better. So if you're going into a bank and they don't give you an answer, make sure at least you're walking out with what you need to improve on so that when the next time you go back, you have a shot at getting better. This is from Capital One about what they look for when they're extending credit. Most important thing is payment history, that you've been doing this. You have credit, you've been doing it for a long time. They look at how much you owe. So do you already have a ton of debt and then they won't be able to give you any more? And then a bunch of other stuff, length of credit history, new credit, types of credit. Just important to know what they look at before you walk in the door to give yourself the best shot at getting a yes. Next up are angels. Angel investors, we're jumping a category. So love money is $25,000 and less. Banks are all over the place. Banks can be $5,000 up to millions of dollars. Government, same thing. A couple $1,000s up to millions of dollars, depending on what you're doing. Tons of different programs. Angels are wealthy individuals who want to put money into a company. They're going to typically own a part of your company. They're taking up equity. And they're usually in the $25,000 to $250,000 range. That's what makes it worth it for them. Above 250, we're looking into the venture capital territory. So if you guys have watched Shark Tank, two of them are here. Damon John, Robert Herjavec, those guys are angel investors. I've invested as an angel investor into companies. And so I'm going to go over some of the things that you need to think about when you're bringing on an angel. 5 key things that they look at. First is the people. The most important thing that they look at is the people behind it. As an angel investor, when I was in the venture capital game, I can't tell you how many times I got the same looking business plan from different people. You think your plan is so insanely unique. It's not. It's why angels and VCs will not sign non-disclosure agreements, because they're seeing the same thing so many times. The difference is, who are the people behind it? So when they open up your business plan, the first thing they look at is the executive summary, right? You should all have that executive summary at the start, 2 to 3 pages that talks about your entire business plan. After that, they look at the people. In the venture capital industry, they call it the horse for the course. So like, are you the horse to ride this thing out, right? So you need to have that covered off. You need to show that you have the experience. And if you don't, you need to have advisors to support you. Like, I'm really good at this, and I build up an advisory team or people on my business partners to help me get to where I need to go. The next thing they jump to is the finances. How much money can I make? An angel investor wants to make 20 to 30% average per year, and they want to be out of your business in 6 to 8 years. So they're not going to make that money at the start, right? They're not getting 30% after the first year. But by the time they sell, they want to be out of your business in 6 to 8 years. Like, angels typically don't want to be in your company for 50 years. They want to build it and sell it. So 6 to 8 years, and by the time I've sold it, I've made an average of 30% of return a year off your business. So it lends itself well to some businesses, but the slow growing industries, it's harder to get the angel funding. So that's the first. Executive summary, then people, then finances. If they like all that, they'll keep reading through your business plan. If they don't, it's getting chucked. Next is looking at your technology or looking at your product, looking at what you actually make, right? Where most people lead with what they make, which is not the best way to do it, right? They want to understand your exec summary, but then go to you and talk about the finances. You sell me on that, then I care about what you're making. Then the marketing plan. Do you have a path to make money? And then the legal side. Here is more, are you actually set up as a company? Are you a corporation? Can I get shares in your business? And if you have anything that needs protection, do you have the patent for it? If you guys are fans of Shark Tank, you'll see them often ask, do you have the patent for it? Do you have the patent for it? And that's a big part of protecting your technology, is having that patent. But if you don't have something that's protectable, then at least make sure that you're set up as a corporation, you have a shareholders agreement, because otherwise it makes you look like a really amateur entrepreneur, and it makes it harder to get a yes from them. How to find them? Most of them are found through connectors. So look at people who are dealing with successful business people on a regular basis. They're going to be lawyers, they're going to be accountants, they're going to be financial advisors, potentially real estate agents. These are the people who deal with these guys on a regular basis. So if you're trying to raise money from an angel investor, you want to talk to every lawyer you know and every accountant you know and every financial advisor you know and try to get introductions from your friends to their lawyer and their financial advisor, because getting that on their radar, most angels don't go up and say, I'm an angel investor, come and pitch me, right? Because they're going to get swamped with all these ideas that they don't have time to do because they have their daily jobs. And so they rely on those connectors, lawyers, accountants, to help them make the decisions. So those are the people that are way easier to get to than the angels themselves. Next is 6 degrees of separation, just by telling people that you're looking for an angel. The first angel that I met was actually my dentist. And there's a term in the industry called DDI, which is dentists or doctors with disposable income. And a lot of them end up investing into deals. And as he explained to me, he said, being a dentist is boring. I don't know if there's any dentists in the room. And he gets to live vicariously through his investments. And he gets to brag to his friends about the investments that he's made in the companies. And so this is what a lot of them do. Now, it may not be a perfect fit for you. Again, you don't want dumb money. You don't want somebody just giving you money without expertise and credentials and introductions. But a lot of it just comes from talking to the people that you already know in your group. And then the last are the angel groups. There are some angel groups that are out there where they have pitches. We can go in and meet them. You could try to get on Shark Tank, and you can meet those guys and try to get an introduction there. But most of the deals that happen are not done through Shark Tank, are not done through angel groups. It's done through the connections that you make. And last, we're going to get to venture capital. So now we're looking at $250,000 plus. VCs really hate doing $250K deals because it's honestly more work to do $250,000 than it is to do $250 million. All the due diligence that they have to look into. If you're already a setup company, you've already gone through funding, it's a lot easier to give you a big check. If you're a startup and you're just on your path and nobody knows about you yet, it's super hard, a lot of work that goes into making sure that this is a good investment. And so they hate doing these small deals, but they do it because they want to participate in the next round. Right? They do it because they want the $2 million raise that you do next and the $50 million raise that you do next. So getting on their radar, these are the hardest guys to win over. These are the hardest guys to get a yes from. And these are the most common reasons why they get rejected. And this is applicable to anybody. Like, this is especially for the VC, but if you can create a plan that a VC would be interested in, guaranteed the guys underneath would also be interested in it. They're the hardest ones to get a yes from. So first is no market information. So, if I'm selling shoes, or sorry, if I'm selling sandals, I give information about the shoe market. It's not really the complete picture, right? Don't tell me about the shoe market, tell me about the sandal market. So a lot of times entrepreneurs don't have enough information on how big their market actually is. And so it's hard for me as an investor to say yes to you. Second is no experience. And I have this little baby in a suit there. They want to see that you've done it before. And if you haven't done it yet, then you need to have people on your team, even as advisors. Like, add your accountant on your on your profile page as an advisor to your business, and your lawyer as an advisor to your business, or there's other people in the community who can be advisors to your company. Even if you don't own a piece of your business, you're going in not just alone as Johnny Entrepreneur who's never done this before. You need to add a little more credibility. No customers, we've talked about it, right? Most plans that come in, the VC rejection rate is 99% from a business plan, mostly because there's no customers. Like, show me some traction, show me some momentum. If you can get one customer, again, you're already different than most of the companies that are pitching. Generous projections. If we get 1% of that market, we're going to be the next Microsoft, right? We're going to be the next Sage. If you in your business plan have like your best case, realistic case, and worst case scenario, they always look at your worst case scenario and then assume it's going to be worse than your worst case scenario. So make sure that your worst case scenario still looks pretty attractive. But typically entrepreneurs will go in and with these huge projections, lofty goals, and it makes it look unrealistic and it's harder to get a yes. Like going in saying you're going to be the next Microsoft, it's great to have a big vision for yourself, but it's super hard to get behind it because how many people actually go off and be the next Microsoft? And then the last one is saying that you have no competition. When you say that you don't have any competition, it really makes you look like an amateur when you're talking to investors. You always have competition. You may not have direct competition, but there's always some competition. I like to salsa dance. I own a salsa dancing company as well as an investment in Toronto. And maybe I want to open a salsa dance school here in Chicago. Maybe there's no salsa dance school here in Chicago. I'm sure there are, but let's say there aren't. She's saying, yeah, there are. We'll go. Whoever wants to go salsa dancing, let me know tonight. We'll find a place. It doesn't matter if there's no salsa dance school yet. You still have competition because people are still spending their money, right? Where are they spending it? They're spending it on the movies and going out to dinner, on watching the Cubs or the White Sox. I'm a baseball fan. Right? So saying that you have no competition really makes you look like an amateur, and it's almost always just going to result in a no thank you. So you'll always want to show who the competition is and how you stack up, even if it's just recognized and there's no direct competition, but only indirect. You guys know who this is? Anybody know who this is? Old white dude. His name is Fred Smith. He's the founder of FedEx, and he raised $90 million when he was launching FedEx. And he shared some advice on how he did it that I thought would be relevant to you guys. He said, first, I was putting up a lot of my own cash. Investors and lenders want to see that you are committed to this. And what a lot means is depending on your situation. Right? So you may not be able to put up $1 million into your company. Maybe $10,000 is what you're putting in, but that's a lot to you. Like, that's your life savings, right? It's a meaningful contribution for you. Investors want to make sure that you're not just risking their money, but yours as well. So you need to show them that what you've put in is significant for you and that you're willing to work insanely hard to make it happen. Because the fear is, it gets really hard and you say, yeah, whatever, I'm not attached to it. I'm going to move on and do something else. And investors have been burned a lot with that. So you need to show up front that you've got a ton committed to this and you want to make sure it's successful. Next is, second, our business was demonstrable. We were operating and people could see the demand for our service. So the closer you are, again, to being able to show how this thing works and how people will use it, the easier it is to get a yes. The closer you are to making money, the easier it is to get a yes. If you have to spend a lot of time explaining to somebody how something works, the longer you're talking about what you're doing, the more glossy-eyed their eyes are going to get. Right? If they can't understand it quickly, then it's going to be super hard to get a yes. And last, it didn't require some technological breakthrough or the development of an entirely new market. Like, it's ready to go now. Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. The technology is not ready to go to Mars yet, right? The ships can't go that far. They can't send them back. There's a lot of stuff that has to be developed for us to get to Mars. So it's going to be hard to be able to finance that. That's why he's doing all this himself. So the more you can show that the market is already ready for this. Nothing else has to happen by anybody else for me to have success in this business. The conditions are already here now. If you can show me that, again, I'm just thinking it's way easier for me to get my money back, right? It's easier for me to get customers and put that money back in my pocket. To show that to investors makes it easier for you to get a yes. So those are some of the main investor types, going from love money to banks and government. angels, venture capitalists. I want to show you some other ways that you can get some money to grow your business that may be a little more unconventional, but super helpful. Because as being an entrepreneur, it's never about how many resources you have. It's about how resourceful you are. And so an easy way to get it is from suppliers. Think about how you're going to spend the money. So if you got that 50K or 150K or a million or whatever it is that you're looking for, what are you going to spend it on? Can you go out now and make deals with those people so that you don't have to spend so much money? So if you're going to work with suppliers, can you get a better price deal from them at the start? Can you get it from them for free for the first 6 months of business? Do they become a minority equity partner in your business in exchange for giving you what you need to help build and grow? Trying to find creative ways to negotiate with suppliers so that you're getting what you need at a good price or potentially for free so that you're not spending tons of money. Next is getting customers. I love bootstrapping. I love getting customers coming in. A great way to do it is through Kickstarter, but also find other ways to get customers to come in before you start marketing. Like Kickstarter is genius because you're not giving up anything. This is an example of a campaign that LeVar Burton ran for Reading Rainbow. He raised $5.5 million to fund it, but he didn't lose any percent of the business. When you go on Kickstarter, you're not giving up any equity at all. Like he raised $5.5 million without giving up any equity in his project. Now, not every business goes on and raises $5.5 million, and there's definitely an art and science to doing well on Kickstarter. It's not super easy, but it's beautiful because it's only marketing. And it gives you a sense of if your product is going to work, if there's demand for it, you're putting money in your pocket before you even spend anything. And you're not giving up equity in your company, which is so valuable for you in the early stages of growing your business. Other ways to spend less. Think about bartering. Think about time sharing. Think about trading, right? Do you need, as an example, I needed a patent for my first company. I needed a patent for my technology. I didn't have the money to buy a patent. So I partnered up with a patent lawyer. And I said, you will get a percentage of anything we make from this patent. And things were slow for him at the time. So we said, okay, we'll do it. So I got a free patent, and he took a percent of everything that we made from it. When I sold my first business, I wanted to have an office, and I wanted to, not just work from home anymore. And so I made a deal with a company that was at Yonge and King, which in Toronto was one of the most expensive areas. And I made a deal with that company to help them with their biz dev, and they gave me a space in their office for free to run my company, right? I got an insanely good address that if anybody looked at it, if you're from Toronto, you would say, wow, you're Yonge and King. It's pretty impressive. And I got it for free, zero. Like it's insanely high rent, and I got it for free. So you got to think about how you can barter and trade and share your way to get to the top. Next is subcontract. You don't have to hire full-time people right away. The first guy I hired was to do 1 hour a day of work for me. And he was doing database work, and he was better at it than I was. He was saving more than an hour of my time daily. I'm a fan of using online services. There's a great one called Upwork, where people around the world bid on projects for you, and you can hire them for a couple hours a week. And that saves you time from having to do it yourself, gives you the help that you need, but also allows you to hire a temporary workforce without having to go out and say, I need 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 80,000 to hire somebody full-time. Try to rent, don't buy. Don't go out and buy equipment, don't go out and buy a building, don't go out and buy stuff. Lease and rent as much as possible in the early stages. Look for on-demand suppliers. Look for suppliers that will make stuff on a whim for you. And yes, the thing with these things is it costs more per unit. Like if I wanted to make a t-shirt, if I'm going to make these Believe t-shirts, what most people do when they start a t-shirt company is to go out and they order 10,000 t-shirts. This is going to be the hottest, sickest design. I'm going to order 10,000 t-shirts, and then they sell 2 of them. And then 9,998 of them are sitting in your best friend's garage or your mom's basement because you couldn't go out and sell them. And the reason why you got 10,000, you say, oh, that's stupid. Why you buy 10,000? Because the per unit cost is so low. Because when I'm buying 10,000, it costs me $5 per unit. But when I buy one, it's cost me 20. And when I sell it, I'm selling it for 25. So my margins are much better when I have big quantities. But you have to be able to sell it, right? I just dropped $50K on these t-shirts that are sitting in my mom's basement. And if that's the first bet that you take, you may not be able to stand up and do another bet because you're still in debt from that first one. So work with on-demand suppliers. Yes, it'll cost you more per unit, but you can see which one works. If I'm trying to print t-shirts, I can use Teespring or a host of other ones. And sure, I make $1 a shirt, $5 a shirt, nothing to go home and write about. But I get a sense of, one, I'm building momentum. I'm building a customer base. I'm building things that people care about. If something tanks, I'm not out a ton of money. And I get to see which one works because the top selling product, I can then go out and take a big order from and go out and sell it because I know it's going to work. So try to spend as little as possible to get your business where it needs to go. And then the last is interns. That's a picture from Robert De Niro in that movie, Interns. I like that movie. People hated that movie. I don't know. I liked it. Maybe it was awesome. Maybe I'm just a De Niro fan. I don't know. I liked it. One of my early business I built on the backs of interns. High school interns, university interns, foreign language student interns. A lot of the programming from our website came from students who are coming from Germany and overseas who were programmers and were here to try to learn English and understand the culture. And they actually pay an agency to hook them up with a job to get overseas experience, and it's good for their resume. High school students, university students, they need to do this as part of their credit, right? They need to get a good mark from you in order to move on and graduate. And so you can get a lot of skills for free. Some of them are paid, up to you if you want to pay or not. I wasn't allowed to pay the high school, university, or foreign language interns. It's part of the program. So you can get a lot of free labor as long as you make sure that you're giving back, right? Like you're mentoring them, you're helping them learn and get better. It's not just a one-way thing where they're off doing all your work and you're just laughing and counting the money. Like you got to mentor and coach them. But it's a great way to be able to build your business without having to spend a ton of money. And I want to close with giving you a couple other tips, things that not a lot of people talk about that I discovered in the world of raising capital that hopefully you guys can learn from. The first is a concept called core selling. This is a picture of my book. It actually comes out in December, and we just pre-launched it this week, so I'm super pumped about that. And we talk about core selling in the book, where most people only look at skills and resources when they're bringing on a team or bringing on investors, right? When I'm bringing on that investor, I just want to make sure that they have X amount of dollars, but they ignore the value. They ignore the personal values that that person has, which is super important. You won't want somebody in your team as a programmer who can just cut code but doesn't believe in your mission, doesn't work well with you as a human being. Like if you're the kind of person who is always supporting others, I need to support others, I need to be their champion, I need to make them feel good, and you have this programmer or this investor who doesn't believe that. They just hate on people, they put people down. They may have the skills that you need, they may have the resources that you need, but they don't jive with the values that you have as a human being. And it's never going to work out having people on your team underneath you as employees or as investors who don't believe in operating as a human being the same way that you do. And so most people, again, only bring people on based on those resources that they're after without doing an audit as to what kind of human being is this. So you have to connect on a values level. Next is reduce the risk. When an investor is saying yes or no to a decision, they're going to look at, okay, what's the opportunity, right, on one side, and the other side is how much risk is there. And most entrepreneurs only focus on building up the opportunity with zero focus on the risk. So if there's a great opportunity but there's a ton of risk, then they're still going to say no. Where if you can reduce the risk and show them how you're going to be prudent about spending the money, then it makes it a lot easier to say yes. So don't just focus on the one side about the opportunity. Make sure you're also addressing how you're not going to be super risky or dangerous with their money. I love this picture. One thing you might get asked as you do your pitches and as you start talking to people is, what is your unfair advantage? Or what is your unfair competitive advantage? It's one of those industry terms. But knowing the answer to it is super helpful and can help you get your deal. So the idea here is, if you see a goalie with 4 arms, he has an unfair advantage because every other goalie has 2 arms. You're trying to stop the ball from going in the net. If you have 4 arms, you have an advantage over everybody else. So it's thinking within your own business, what's the equivalent? Where's the 4-arm goalie in your business that nobody else can replicate? And you want to be able to build a business around that. So if somebody asks you what your unfair advantage or what your unfair competitive advantage is, one, you should have an answer for it. Now I put it on your radar. Hopefully, you know when you're saying, kind of stumbling, because that hesitation will kill you. But two, hopefully it helps you build a better business. Like, what are you so good at that nobody else can replicate and nobody else can do? Because I guarantee you, if you're talking to a professional investor, angel or venture capitalist, again, they've seen this deal. They've got 5 other deals that look exactly like yours in front of them. So you need to do something to separate yourself. And understanding and explaining what your unfair advantage is really going to help you. Back to use of proceeds. Use of proceeds is just how are you going to spend the money. It better not be on paying yourself a huge salary. I remember I got a deal come across my plate. They wanted $500,000, 4 partners, and they wanted to pay themselves each $100,000 for a year, and they'd have $100,000 left to build the business and operating capital. So that's crazy. Nobody's going to say yes to that. And just because you may have earned $100,000 in your other job doesn't mean I'm going to pay you as an investor $100,000, right? Yes, you need to earn money, okay? They're not expecting you to work for free. But they want to see the struggle and the grind. Like, you're not super comfortable because you're earning $100K or 6 figures from me as an investor. They want to see that you are hustling and grinding and want to make this thing happen. So yes, you need to be able to earn a living, but don't expect to earn a great living. Like, the great living comes once you build a business, right? That's how the investor's getting paid. They want to make sure that your interests are aligned. Both of us make a lot of money when the company's doing well. It's not from you drawing a huge salary from the company. So just be conscious of that. Yes, you need to make enough to survive, but if they feel like you are just taking too much up front and aren't interested in the long run, then you're not going to get a yes. I want to dive into a little bit of math, and I'm not going to make it boring, I hope, because it's super important. This is the only math thing I have, I think, on the presentation. And it just talks about stretching the time period. We talked at the start about the beginning of an entrepreneurial venture is the riskiest time to get an investor. You're going to lose a ton of your company because there's so much risk attached to it. You would act the same way. If somebody came to you with a less than sure thing, you're going to want to have more of it to compensate for the risk. And so here's an example of if I want to raise $500,000, at the start, my business, I might say my valuation is $1 million. And you can adjust these numbers however you want. Like, say you only need 50,000 and you say my business is worth 100,000, whatever. These numbers adjust all the way down. But say for this, I want $500,000. I think my business is worth $1 million. So right there, I lose half my company. Right? That's a huge chunk. Alternatively, what you can do is say, okay, I need $150K now at that $1 million valuation that we agreed upon. Okay, the business is still worth the same amount. I just want less. I still need $500,000, but I don't need it all right now. So let me go out and prove myself and hit some milestones and hit some goals. And in 3 months, I'm going to come back and I want $150K, but now at $1.5 million valuation. And if you've gone out and actually hit your goals, it's less risky for the investor, so they don't need to take as much. You've proven yourself a little more. And then you say, okay, let me come back in another 6 months. I need the other $200,000 at a $2 million valuation. My business is worth more because I've hit other milestones and other targets. So at the end of the day, I still get the same money that I need. I still get my $500,000, but I'm only losing 35% of my company instead of half. That 15% is a huge chunk. And you can apply this across the board. It doesn't have to be these numbers, but that math and that logic is the same. You may not need all the money right now up front. And if you can go to whichever investor you're talking to or lender and just get what you need right now, and then write something down. Like, hey, if I go and accomplish this, can I come back in 3 months and get a better valuation for more money? And it's an easy way to not lose as much of your business, still get the money you need. And a lot of people don't do it. A lot of people don't do it, and they lose a ton of their company needlessly. This one is fun. Okay, you need to write in plain English. You got to remember that investors, bankers, lenders, they are not in your industry. Okay, they're generalists. We understand generally what you do and the market, but somebody else, the entrepreneur should know more about this market than I do as an investor. This was the first paragraph of a business plan that came into me when I was at the venture capital company. and I blanked out the name because the name doesn't matter. But it was this blank company has developed collaboration applications that are based on a flexible, modular, extensible software framework. Our products are ideally suited to cross-enterprise, cross-platform applications. Our system architecture gives us a strategic advantage for deploying collaboration to many platforms, including the latest generation of wireless handheld devices, while providing organizations with strongly encrypted collaboration capabilities, fine-grained security, and access control. What do these guys do? Right? The thing is, these guys would say, what, that's what we do. What's your problem? That's what I do. And that makes total sense. But to somebody who doesn't understand their industry, it seems like a lot of gibberish. And I was coming from the tech background, and I had to read this 3 times before I kind of got a sense. And so that's a problem. Like, if the investor doesn't understand what it is that you do, how do you expect to get money from them? Right? Would you ever give money to somebody who has a plan that you didn't understand? Probably not going to happen. So you need to make sure that it's written in plain English. It's important that you show other people who don't understand your industry, because it is so easy to get locked into acronyms and short forms in your pitch that make total sense for you, and you're trying to condense it down, but then the message is lost because the people in the audience, people you're pitching to, didn't understand you. There's a thing called the elevator pitch, which is super common in the raising capital world. And it's important because you need to learn how to be concise with your pitch on what you do. So the idea is, you're here at Sage Summit, whatever hotel you're at, you get on the top floor with Damon John, you're both going down to the lobby, he's off to some crazy business thing afterwards. You have that 30 seconds in the elevator to convince him that you've got this great deal. What do you say to him, right? He's getting off. So you have to have a concise pitch. You need to have a 30-second, minute, 5-minute pitch, all of them, so that when you get a chance to prove yourself, to have that discussion, you don't blow it. I used to think with my first business that, man, we've got such a great idea. If I could just get somebody to sit with me for an afternoon on a couch and I could explain it to him or her, they would get it and they would love it. I just got to figure out how to make that happen. The thing is, nobody's going to give you an afternoon to sit down on the couch and have you tell their life story, right? Like, people are busy. The more successful people are, the busier they are too. And so you have to be able to get your message across super quick. And it comes from practice. Like, don't expect to write a business plan and then be able to kill a 30-second intro. It's not going to happen. You practice. You practice over and over and over again. You practice on the plane ride wherever you're going. You practice in front of the mirror. You practice to your dog. You practice to the plant, right? You practice until you get it down to the point where it's super easy for you to explain it. There's another term in the venture capital industry called the grandmother test, where the idea is if you can explain it to your grandmother and she understands the value of what you're doing, then you've done a good job. So, my grandmother would not understand this. There's no way. It's not happening. I don't think any of our grandmothers here would understand that. And so the idea is you need to be able to show it to people outside your industry who don't know, like, who love you, but who don't know what it is that you do, and they get a concept. They don't have to be an expert at it, but if you showed it to your grandmother, she would understand and see the opportunity in it. Even if she didn't understand how it all worked, she understands at a high level what it is that you're all about. So make sure that you pass the grandmother test. That's all I have for now. I really appreciate the support, guys. You seriously kick. And we've got, 11 minutes. If you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them now. And then I'll hang out to the side afterwards, too, if you have more. That was good. Yeah, clap it up. Hey, Sage Summit. Thanks, guys. Where do you want to go? Question. Oh, we got another mic. Okay. We'll go here, and then we'll go to the back. Well, she did do the show me the money. We should give her the first question as a reward. Can we get that mic turned on? Oh, we got to do it here? Check, check.
Hello?
There we go.
Hi, everyone. My question is, I know you said something about, let me look at my notes. I have an idea for a tech company, right?
For what? Tech company?
A tech company.
Okay.
But you know how you said you have to show that you have a client?
Yeah.
Like the Facebooks and the Instagrams and Twitter, at first they don't make money until you have advertisement and things like that. So how can you actually get funding at an angel or venture capital um, level if you can't show that at that point you have a client, a paying client?
Sure. What those companies have, and what is helpful to also go out and get, is attention. They don't have money, but they have attention. And investors value attention. Attention is a currency. So if you have something that everybody's paying attention to, you can raise money against it. Right? If it's something that nobody's paying attention to, it's going to be really hard. So it's not just about, do you have a customer who's putting money in your pocket? Having attention leads to customers who will put money in your pocket. The other thing I would think about is, if you're starting a tech company, if that's not your background, you need to get somebody to partner with. It's insane how many people, like, look at the most successful tech companies. It's usually a duo, but if it's not the founder, there's always a founder who understands the tech. You can't just outsource it. You need to have a CTO. You need to have somebody who's a partner in your business who understands the tech and is just as committed to you and the project as you are to it. And so there's so many people like, oh, I want to start a new app. I don't know what tech you're trying to start. I want to start a new app, but yeah, I don't know anything about app development. I just have this great idea. You can't just hire an app developer and hope that you're going to build a successful tech company. Any investor wants to see that there's somebody on board who knows the tech and will support you in that process. So make sure that you build a team around it. Question back here.
On raising funds,
Yeah.
when you put too much of your own money in and you go to a bank, in this case U.S. banks, and they look at your balance sheet and says, oh, who do you owe all this money to? And you say it's yourself. They actually say no. They've said no to me 6 times because you have too much money in, and if we give you a loan, you're just going to take your money out. How do you fight that?
Well, how did you put the money in? As equity or as debt?
It's debt.
Right. So you have debt, right? Like they don't. When I say put your money in, it's not give yourself a loan. It's put money in.
No, you got to do it as debt so you can get paid to show that you can handle the debt load. So you're paying yourself interest and so forth, so on, and you pay yourself a penalty interest because you can't get it from a bank. Now, I've been in business a long time. That's how we do it, and I've been fairly successful. It's just getting the banks to step up to help me grow and do the next piece.
Whenever you're trying to bring in an investor, a lender, they look at how much debt you already have on the books. A banker will not give you tons of money if you owe yourself a ton of money. Or they may say, you know what, you got to avoid that debt. That's not debt that you put in. That's what?
You have to subrogate.
Right, but you'll know that going in. Like, you shouldn't have a ton of debt on your books, even if it's to yourself. Like, an investor, an angel investor, never wants to come into a deal to buy another person out. They won't come in, and if you say I need $100,000, they're not going to give you 50 to pay off your own debt to yourself. They don't want to buy out another investor either. Like, hey, I have this problem. You know, I started this business with my ex-wife, and she owns half of it. They don't want to buy her out, right? They want to see that the money they're putting in is going to build the business. So yeah, it's a genuine fear. And what you're doing makes sense for tax purposes because you can write things off. But what makes sense for tax purposes and what looks good as an investment are different things. So you would need to figure out, if you want to get money from a bank, how to erase at least some of that debt, or write in that they get what? Yeah, switch it to equity. Right, and that may hurt you from a tax perspective. But now you have money to grow your business. And that's the give and take. Like, you can keep going as you are now and pay less taxes because you're doing it for tax reasons. Pay less tax, and it's totally legit. It's not a loophole or anything illegal that you're doing. Totally legit. Lots of people do it, but it prevents you from building something great potential by getting the loan that you need. So, which one weighs more for you? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just, if you need that money, then you have to convert it to equity, and you'll pay more taxes. You bring more money in. Question back here with Cody.
Hi, my name is Tariq. My question is in 2 parts.
Yeah.
As a startup, what would you think the best cost-effective way to promote the new tech startup? Is it the digital way, advertising Facebook, social media, or still stick to the traditional way, mailing postcards to people in an area? My second question would be in terms of raising capital. is it better to go with a convertible debt at initial steps, so you don't have to give up any equity, you don't have to give up anything of your business, and then basically just give a promise note to the investors on the second round to give them a little bit of discount, 10%, 20% on the next valuation?
Okay, so for the marketing side, I've got a lot to say on that. I'm actually doing a session on Thursday, so if you guys are still around, I'm doing a whole session on 14 ideas for your marketing. My quick answer to you would be I'd use influencers. I wouldn't start trying to build my own network. I wouldn't try to build my own content yet. It'd just be through influencers. So, if you were trying to target entrepreneurs, you want to talk to guys like me because I have an audience of entrepreneurs. If I endorse your thing, it's going to be way more effective than you putting out posts on Facebook and running advertisements and all that stuff. So finding influencers, whoever your target audience is, who already has that audience, and what would make them interested to learn about what you're doing.
And what would be a fair way to get that influencer interested in and promoting your idea?
They have to care about it. Like, you can pay for it, and some people just have flat rates, and depending on how big their audience is, say, okay.
Can you give us a range?
Sure, but well, it depends. Depends on the range of their followers, right? Like, if they have 3,000 subscribers on Instagram, or followers, maybe it's costing you $300 to reach them. Who knows? But more importantly, you want to find people who are like, I'll do it all the time. I don't get paid to do, like, I'll say no to deals. Like, if you said, hey, can you please mention my app and I'll give you $5,000 to do it, unless I actually use it and like it, I'm not going to talk about it. So for me, though, I'll talk about a lot of the stuff that I actually use in my business and in my life. So if you gave me something that was to help entrepreneurs, immediately if you're doing something that helps entrepreneurs, I'm interested because that's my market. That's what I care about.
I think you like this.
Well, man, come over and talk afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
But so, like, if you give me something that I'm actually going to use, and with all the influencers, you give them something that they will actually use.
This is your grandma can use too, by the way.
My grandma can use it too.
Yeah.
So, like, that's how. Like, get me to care and use it. People will talk about the things that they care. That's way more effective than for you,
Right.
because I'll probably mention it multiple times. People ask me, what tools do you use? Oh, you got to check out this app, right? Much more than, hey, I'll do one YouTube video on it for 10 grand, right? In terms of the convertible, it's much more favorable towards the investor than you. If I'm an investor, I want to do convertible all day long. Because at the beginning, I get cash. When it's risky, I get cash. And once your company takes off, I get equity. So I reduce my risk on both sides. But I would use it as a last resort if I was the entrepreneur, because I need that cash at the start, right? And I don't want to give up the equity when the company is worth a lot more. So it's something that investors will often do. And if you can avoid it, I would try to avoid it at all costs.
So you basically recommend straight up equity from the get-go.
If you can do it. Investor may not want to do it. And that may be your only deal. And if you need that deal, then you take it, potentially, right? But if you can negotiate it to just equity, it's better for you. Cash flow is super important. You don't want to lose it to an investor. And they should understand that too. Like, you're strangling the company by taking money away when I need it most to growth. Do we got time for one question? Cody? Oh, no, other side? Yeah.
that work? Okay.
Over here. Sorry. Cody had his hand up, that's all.
Hi, my name is Maggie, and I'm the founder of Medici. So we are.
We got the plug. I like the plug.
Yeah, we're helping museums create communities and acquire members, and helping cultural enthusiasts get to museums, meet people to go to museums, and save time and money doing that. But we're piloting here. We've been bootstrapping. We're piloting here in Chicago in September. And my question is this: I haven't been pitching many angels yet. Should I pitch angels now and then go back to them after we have traction, say we're not actually ready quite yet? Because people are wanting to have meetings, but should I pitch them now and then go back and pitch them with the traction, or wait until after we have the traction?
I would go in and try to ask for help and not pitch them. Say, hey, here's the situation. Here's where I'm at. What advice do you have for me to grow my business? Right. And one, it lets you get a sense of, can I work with this person? Like, do they have meaningful advice? Do I like the vibe that's coming off of them? Do we share the same values? But also, it's a way easier. Once you start pitching somebody, walls come up, right? Like, okay, I'm looking for these things, otherwise I'm going to say no, right? Just like if somebody tries to sell you, like, this is the greatest thing ever, you're gonna love it. You're starting to shut down immediately, right? Where if I come and ask for help, it opens you up a lot more. And it's actually a ninja strategy to get angels on board, even if you are pitching, to not go in and ask for a pitch, but just ask for a coffee to get some advice. And if they like it, they're going to want to be on board. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I don't think we're ready yet, but I'd love to keep updating you. And the ongoing relationship and mentorship is super important. And so if they give you advice that you really like and then you go and execute against it, and you come back and say, listen, I love the advice, we did it, and here's how we've grown, they're going to want to do a deal with you, because a lot of entrepreneurs don't listen to their investors, and that creates conflict. And maybe they have wrong advice, like maybe just pick the wrong investor at the start too. But from an investor point of view, if you give me an entrepreneur who's listening to me, then I want to do a deal with them. We have 3, 2, 1 second. Cody, I'm done on time. Where's Cody? All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to hang out to the side here if you have other questions, and I'll be here on Thursday too to talk about marketing.